Hello boys and girls, and welcome back to part 2 of the multiplication videos. This one is going to tell you another version of multiplication which you may have learned in 3rd grade, but I'm not quite sure, so let's get started. Alright, so we are going to be doing something that is called lattice multiplication, which is spelled Lattice. It's just a different way. It might be a little bit easier for you, but meaning of multiplication still stays the same. It says each DVD set of Lord of the Rings cost $38. How much would 7 of these cost? So, again, we could do 38 plus 38 plus 38 plus 38 plus blah, 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 so on and so forth, but multiplication is going to be faster. Rather than doing the normal way like I was showing you yesterday, we're going to try a different way. It's called the lattice box. So the first thing you need to do is draw yourself a box or rectangle. On the top, put the 38. On the side, put the 7. Multiply that. Now, what we need to do here is we need to divide the numbers into their place value. So 3 and 8, there would be a line in between those two. There's going to be no lines going across because if you see here, 7 is all by itself, so you do not need a line across. Next step you will need to do is put in diagonals, which look like that. Diagonals. Now the next step is you're going to start multiplying. So if I choose this box right here, I'm going to go up until I run into a number. So I ran into the 8. I'm going to come back down and I'm going to go over until I run into a number, and that is 7. So 8 times 7 is 56. So I'll write 56. The next step I'm going to do is, now I'm going to this box. I go up until I run into a number. I run into a 3. I come back down. I go all the way over, and now I've run into this number. So I have 3 times 7, which is 21. Now my next step is I'm going to start adding up along my diagonal lines. We see we have a diagonal line here, and we have a diagonal line here. So I'm going to add up just this amount because it's in between the diagonal line and the corner. So 6 by itself is going to give me 6. Here I'm going to go in between these two diagonal lines. So 5 plus 1 is going to give me 6. And finally 2 is by itself, so that's going to give me 2. So my answer is 266. It would cost me $266 if I wanted to buy 7 Lord of the Rings sets. Let's go on to our next example. You can do this one along with me rather than pausing the video because this is a newer concept. So it says the Fellowship of the Ring is 228 minutes long. Jim watched it 8 times. How long did he spend watching it? So let's do this one together. So I'm going to draw my box as my first step. On the top I put 228. Along the side I put 8. Now I need to divide up my box, so there should be a line between the 2 and the 8 like that, and a line between the 2 and the 2 like that. I don't need a line going across because it's all by itself. Next step is I'm going to put in my diagonal lines, and diagonal lines. I forgot my multiplication symbol there. Now I'm going to pick this box. I'm going to go up, and I run to an 8. I'm going to come down, and then go over. I come into an 8. 8 times 8 is 64. So I put a 6 and a 4 in the box. Now I'm going to go up to 2, down and over to 8. So 2 times 8 is 16. And finally, here I'm in this box, I go up to the 2, down and over to the 8. That coming back here, that would give me 16. Now let's start adding these up. 4 is all by itself, so that's going to be 4. 6 plus 6 is 12. Just like anything else, we can only put one thing in each place value. So I can't put a 12 right here, but what I can do is put a 2 and carry up the 2 and circle it. Now I have 1 plus 1, which would give me 2, plus 8, which would give me, plus 6, which would give me 8. I got a little bit ahead of myself there. 8, and then you see 1 is by itself here, so that becomes 8. So he would have spent 8,824 minutes watching Lord of the Rings. Now occasionally you will run into a lattice box that looks like this, and when we do 2 times 4, that's going to give you 8. Now you can't write 8 here because that's in the tens place. You would write the 8 right here in a 0 because that's how that makes sense. Now if we're doing the 1 and the 4, that would give you 4. You can't write a 4 here and a 0 there because that gives you 40. What you do, however, is you put a 0 and a 4, and then from there you can add up 8 and 4. Now, in this is your final step, and it says Mr. B bought 6 copies of the 2 towers. Each one costs $16. How much did he spend? This is the one that you solve and bring back to school. So make sure you solve this, bring it back to school, and I'll see you tomorrow.